This GPU may be one of the best budget graphics cards in the industry for ERGO, but guess what? No one's talking about it. What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Before we dive into today's video about ERGO, I'd love to know if you're mining ERGO. So leave a comment down below and let me know if you're mining ERGO, what graphics cards you're using. It's June of 2022 and the crypto mining scene is in rough shape. The stock industry is low, the cryptocurrency industry is low, power rates have increased all over the world, and crypto miners are shutting down rigs, selling graphics cards, or looking at alternative methods to go ahead and make their crypto mining farm more efficient. So in today's video, we're going to talk about efficiency, and more specifically about ERGO and one of the GPUs that I have found to really love. Now, before we jump in, if you're wondering how we calculate efficiency, take your hash rate on that graphics cards, divide it by the watts at the wall, and that's going to go ahead and give you the efficiency number. And as you can see, if you check out different spreadsheets or different people talking about graphics cards and efficiencies, everything's usually posted about a point number. So 0.7 or 0.6 or 0.5. Those are some normalcies you see out there when you're looking at graphics cards. But in a time like now, when efficiency is king, let's start to talk about graphics cards that have an efficiency of 1 and higher. Okay, so I'm not going to spoil quite yet what this graphics card is. First, let's give you guys a few hints. So this graphics card dropped within the last 12 months. And when it dropped, the crypto mining community actually wrote it off, threw it under the rug, didn't really care anything about this graphics card. Even though at a time now in June of 2022, it's looking pretty attractive. Now, more hints on this graphics card. It's Samsung memory, GDDR6. And if you go and look this up on Amazon right now, the XFS Speeder Edition goes for $179.99, brand spanking new. So this graphics card right here, in the software on ETC hash, which is Ethereum Classic, does 25 watts. Now if we move on to something like the 𝐏𝐫𝐻 algorithm, which is Ravencoin, it does 36 watts. And finally, on Autolykos, which is ERGO, this guy right here does a whopping 24 watts. So what is this graphics card? I'd like to introduce you to the Gigabyte Radeon RX 6500 XT 4GB. Can you believe it? A 4GB 6500 XT came out months ago. Well, guess what? The efficiency rating on this graphics card on ERGO is 1.07. So in today's video, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and jump into HIVEOS. And yes, the 6500 XT is supported in HIVEOS now. And we're going to look at this graphics card in the software, look at the hash rate that it does on Ethereum Classic, Ravencoin, and finally ERGO. Now, we are going to test at the wall versus in the software. My metrics that I gave you there of a efficiency on ERGO of 1.07 was in the software. I actually haven't seen it at the wall quite yet, so we're going to check that out together. So let's go ahead and dive in and jump right into HIVEOS. Okay, miners, so we have HIVEOS up. We have our test bench booted with no graphics card in it currently right now, and our meter right now is telling us we are at 27.5 watts. So we're going to keep that in mind as our baseline, and as we start to go ahead and do some testing on Ethereum Classic, Ravencoin, and ERGO, we're going to subtract that from the wall in order to give us a better idea as to true accurate wattage. So starting us off, we are looking at Ethereum Classic with no overclock settings, which is never what you want to do when you're mining. So as you guys can see here, we have our Radeon RX 6500 XT in HIVEOS. We're doing 12.98 megahash in the software at a whopping 50 watts. So there's a big reason why we overclock. We overclock in order to get better performance, and then we undervolt to lower the wattage as much as we can to be as efficient as possible. So if we took where we are right now, that's going to put us, we're about 88 when it comes down to our watts at the wall minus our 50, and that's going to put us at about 38 watts total when it comes down to the graphics card. Now, not the most efficient though if you look at it, because then if you go ahead and take 12.98 and divide that by our 38 watts, we are not looking that great at a 0.34 efficiency, which isn't super good. Now let's go ahead and overclock this. Alrighty guys, so on Ethereum Classic and overclocked, you can see we've gone up a little bit when it comes down to our hash rate. We're at 12.98, now we're up to 13.25. But look at our watts. We were at 50 watts in the software, now we're at 23. So in the software alone, we've had a 50% of decrease in wattage, which is phenomenal. These cards undervolt amazing. So taking a look at our voltage meter, we're currently at 60 watts. So if we do our 60 minus our 27.5, which was our baseline for our rig, this is at a whopping 32.5 watts. Pretty dang good on Ethereum Classic right now for 13.25. So if we take our 13.25, divide it by our 32.5, we have an efficiency now of 0.407. So we're getting there. Ethereum Classic isn't bad. Let's swap over and take a look at Ravencoin with stock settings. So we're over on the 𝐏𝐽 algorithm, which is used with Ravencoin, and we're at 8.569 megahash. Nothing too crazy, still okay. In the software it says 47 watts, but at the wall we're currently at about 88 watts as well, again here when it comes to Ravencoin. So it's not exactly performing the best. If we take a look, let's do our 88 minus our 27.5, because that's our baseline, that's 60.5. So if we take here, talking about efficiency, this is really where it's rough, and divide it by 60.5, we're only at a 0.14 efficiency here. So not the best, let's be honest here. So let's go ahead and let's overclock this and see how we do. Okay, so we have our overclocks in place right now. So that puts us at 8.732 megahash. So we haven't really gone up a ton there, very small. But our watts are definitely down in that regard, and we're looking pretty good. We've set a power limit in here of 75. So if we take a look at the wall right now, we're gonna do 75 now minus our 27.5. That's going to put us at now 47.5 watts. Another great example of the value of undervolting. So now we're going to take our hash rate, 8.732, and divide it by the 47.5. We've come up a tiny bit at 0.18. So Ravencoin really isn't a great option for this graphics card when you're kind of looking at efficiency. So now let's jump over to ERGO, which is what this video is all about, and let's take a look at the efficiency over there. So now we're over on Autolycos, which is used with ERGO, and as you can see, we're at 25.32 megahash, not too bad. And our watts in the software are currently at 26 watts. So if we go over and look at our voltage meter at the wall, you can see we're right, it does fluctuate a lot. Same thing with the hash rate, it does fluctuate, but I'm gonna say we're gonna average about 62 watts at the wall. So if we take that and do our 60 minus our 27.5, because that's our baseline, 32.5 watts. So now we're gonna take 25.32 and divide it by 32.5. That's gonna give us an efficiency at the wall now of 0.77. If you want to round up, 0.78 is where we're at now. So let's go ahead, you can see it's fluctuating there on our hash rate. Let's go ahead now and get some overclock settings in place, which will stabilize this, and then we can actually look at what we do overclocked on ERGO. Okay, so we're over on ERGO now, and we're overclocked. We're at 25.84 megahash. Our watts in the software are down to 24. I actually had to bump our power limit to about 85 in the software to kind of give us a little bit better stability. Now, overclocking on ERGO can be super tricky, and you always want to start with the memory. That's kind of the bread and butter, because that's where ERGO really lives out of versus the core. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're at about, based off of our voltage meter at the wall, we're about 60 watts. So we're going to take an average of 60, we're going to minus our 27.5, and that's going to put us at 32.5 still. So now we can go ahead and take where we're at, which is 25.84, and we're going to divide it by 32.5, and we're at 0.79 for our efficiency, which is really, really good. So we're roughly, it's a 79.5 or 795. So let's say for YouTube numbers here, we're at 80. So that gives us a 0.80 efficiency, which is really, really good, especially on ERGO, especially in the current market right now, where efficiency is king. You want to have the most efficient out there. Now, some interesting things from here. At the wall versus in the software, pretty drastic. If we went off of just in the software, we were at over 1.07 actually for our efficiency rating. Now that we've got it actually at the wall and we've subtracted things out, it is 0.80, but we have to be realistic that at the end of the day, you got to include your entire rig, you know, when you're really looking at these types of things, because your entire rig is really where it comes down to what you're being charged for electricity. So if you guys need a voltage meter, I'll put a link down below for one traditional one that plugs into an outlet versus something like this, which is the meter box style. If you want one like the meter box style, go over to themeterbox.com. I'll put a link down below to that one. Now, to give you guys some numbers, and I threw this together, if you had a full rig of these, you'd be roughly about 206 mega hash on ERGO. So if you had an 8 GPU rig of these cards, the 6500 XTs, that would, in theory, only do 192 watts. So if you're just getting into mining at one of the worst times, maybe not, card prices are low. If you're looking to do this over a 5-year period, it's a pretty good idea. This might be an avenue for you. So if you're interested in the 6500 XTs, I'll put a link directly down below to them. I'll put one for the Gigabyte, which is the one I'm using, and then I'll put one for the best price one that I found, which was the XFX Speedster. Take a look at both of those if you're interested. I'm kind of tempted to do an 8 GPU rig of these once I have some additional cash flow available to do so. Alrighty miners, so that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for the RX 6500 XT. Leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on this guy? Especially brand new for $179. Maybe some of you guys can find some secondhand. I know a lot of people went ahead, bought these, and then sold them. Now, granted, that was months ago when the market was totally different. So let me know your thoughts on this down below. And finally, I want one more comment from you guys. Are you mining ERGO? If so, on what graphics cards? Well, guys, thank you guys very much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. Take care.